This is Wazoo from Defense of the Patients, a Dota 2 podcast. We'd like to thank you all for listening and hope you're enjoying the content we're providing. If you are, please remember to tell a friend. Swing by iTunes to give us a funny or positive review. We'll read the best on the show. You can also find us on Twitter at .p_show or defenseofthepatients.com. We release new content every Monday and Thursday. Hope you guys join along. Thanks.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Defense of the Patients, a Dota 2 podcast. I'm your host Cyphus, sitting here with co-host Wazoo.
How's it going?
And co-host Roland.
Hey guys.
And I guess a little bit of show news. We just did CEVO, our first CEVO Learns, yes, that cast, which was a blast with Gorgon the Wonder Cow. Mm-hmm. That link is, I think, on the Twitter page. We'll send out another link or maybe post something up on the website if you'd like to find that and missed it that night.
It's a series that Gorgon the Wonder Cow is planning for CEVO called CEVO Learns, and he was nice enough to bring us onto the inaugural cast, and we all, talked, did what we do here, kind of, asked questions that were relevant for his audience. That cast looks to be very promising, so I guess this is our plug for it simultaneously.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I definitely didn't anticipate doing that.
We were standing outside talking after a game, and we're like, God damn it, that alt thing is so cool. Where you can click over any skill. You can alt hover, basically. And it's going to give you more details on some skills. So
yeah, that was really info. I had no idea. And
that's stuff you want to know. You want to know the little nuances of your hero's skills. I mean, that's your bread and butter, is what your hero can do. That's what makes him different from any other hero.
In a game like as nuanced as Dota, that really doesn't surprise me. But alt is a modifier for a lot of different things naturally in Dota.
It is.
Pinging on the map and stuff like that, and revealing people on the minimap. I also use it for items. Alt and QWEASD are all my items. So I just have to so I still never saw that because who's going to think of hovering it over it hold it while you hold down alt? It's kind of weird, but it does show you quite a bit more information depending on the skill.
Yeah, it really did.
Good to know.
I thought it was a really cool thing to know.
So let's see, other show news. Thursday we have Phage from Standard Deviants, this kind of a stats house. He also does some work with High Ground TV and some other organizations, but he'll be here to talk stats with us.
What's his Twitter?
At that Phage guy.
And Phage is spelled Phage. Yep.
And he'll be here to, at least for me, and I think maybe for Roland and Wazoo as well, introduce us to the world of stats. I don't know what all they track, but
doing CEVO,
everything.
It looks like they're looking up skills and what they do. They're looking up
average time to items in games,
which was cool.
Valve's done this really interesting thing with Dota 2 in that they can just start talking on the side, as was happening in that CEVO cast we did. Those stats guys can be plugging in information, actual numbers that they can start pulling up about how many times this hero has gotten this item and at what time, and if it's average or below average or whatever. And we saw that in the international, but it can also provide interesting dialogue while other people are talking about, things that aren't so stats related. Those people are kind of trying to fill those in.
Seeing the little things that they were pulling up for us about Assault Cuirass and all that affecting towers, enhancing I didn't realize.
Oh, lowered armor on towers.
Yeah, and Desolator. Yeah, you should go back and rewatch that cast. It pops up a couple of times. But Desolator. I didn't realize Desolator also impacted towers.
No, you wouldn't think that what impacts a hero, a flesh, an organic compound, I guess you can look at, would affect stone structure. I don't know, because the physics are so good in that game, you just assume.
What affects heroes and buildings too is Death Prophet's ghosts.
Oh.
And it doesn't matter if it's flesh or stone, it just tears through it. And you always yell, report DP for hacks.
So much, it'd be nice to, and maybe this is a concept for a future show, but discussing what affects buildings and what doesn't.
That'd be a good thing. I want to talk about in this episode, I think we'll have time, kind of how much of the information out there about Dota is super nuanced and hard to find. And honestly, it's like urban legend in a lot of ways. who's the first guy that like started stacking camps? You know, like how's that ever explained?
The Dota pioneers. I've been talking about them for a long time. Who are they?
They're like gods, man.
Yeah, I know.
But like, this is something that's been around forever, but you almost have to learn it through like word of mouth, and it's not ever explained in a game tutorial or through the gameplay. There's so much nuanced stuff in Dota just like that.
Yeah, if you were attempting to learn this game just by playing it, it would, man,
you're gonna have a bad
time.
You're gonna have a really bad time.
If you skip that tutorial, like even that tutorial doesn't prepare you.
I didn't do the tutorial.
Prepare you enough. I didn't either.
I watched some games. I watched some games, and I never played the original Dota, but I played, you know.
God, I always heard about
Tower Defense.
Because I mean, yeah, I played the Tower Defense
That's
Warcraft 3 use map setting game. It was like Tower Line Defense, I think is what it was.
I don't know. But
wrong one.
Maybe we can talk about that on the cast. Is that a lot of the times you're going to need to look this stuff up because you're never ever 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 going to like figure it out just by yourself. How to stack, like, I don't know.
No.
Unless you just do it accidentally and you're like, whoa, I just accidentally like doubled the creeps in this camp now. I mean, how are you ever going to figure that out?
Well, which you could. I mean, at some point, you're probably.
I mean, like,
you're gonna
deduction. But
yeah. Well, you'll stumble upon it. Like, you'll accidentally.
It almost feels like you're metagaming the game, though, with some of these things in Dota, and we've talked about this before. You know,
where it doesn't seem fair. I thought creep stacking wasn't fair, but then when I thought about it, the game allots every minute on the minute, a new camp,
right,
whether you kill it or not. But if there's something obstructing it, spawning,
the spot's taken.
It's
spot's
resource
maximization.
Yeah, it's efficiency. With the pro teams, you've got to be stacking those because you need optimal efficiency.
It becomes another level of play, but at our level, I mean, it's shrouded in myth and rumor, and you're just like, you don't know what's legitimate. And honestly, like, Gorgon showed us that one place you could ward by the Roshan pit that shows those 3 ward locations, and like,
that counter ward.
I completely withheld my glee, like where you put a sentry down there, and I was just like, oh my god, you know, like, and I put almost like 900 hours into the game, and like stuff like that is still like breaking the boundaries of my mind on this game, but
Yeah, should we do State of Affairs?
Oh, yeah, let's do but real quick, if you want to find us on Twitter, at @p_show, defenseofthepatients@gmail.com, and, of course, our website, defenseofthepatients.com, and swing by iTunes and give us a funny review. We'd love to find those.
I noticed, like, when we were recording those ad things, we said funny or positive or whatever. Even leave a bad review. We like to read those, too. Any kind of review, man. Like, that you want to leave, you go ahead and leave.
We'll even read the bad ones maybe on there.
We do. We take any type of criticism, not just good criticism. We like to have bad criticism as well to like help make the show better because we're going to be growing with the show. So.
Well, that's the whole point. We're kind of doing a log here.
Yeah.
And if you haven't caught that from the content, we'll just say it blatantly real quick because we were coming out and we were talking about Dota a lot, all of us, coming out to the little studio I have out here. And then finally we're like, why aren't we recording this? Why don't we just throw this up and on the internet and do a little log of our journey with Dota 2? And it's taken us really far. I want a little bit of news for us here at .p. We're about to break 500 followers on the show. The Roland account has broken 500. It started a little bit before the show account started.
Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, overwhelming support from all of you. You're really accepting. We really appreciate it. And because of that, even though we all have extremely busy lives, we're going to continue.
On that note, like, I also want to say Dota gets, sure, it can be kind of a volatile community or whatever, but like in terms of putting out content, we've experienced nothing but the exact opposite. Like everyone's been
only the positive,
incredibly positive. Even players that are like so much better than us. We have a friend in Germany who's like semi-pro level, and he still plays and enjoys our time and says that was fun, and like we're coming together through a game, even though
he said that was funny.
Yeah, even though we're playing like different games in a way, you know, like
his Invoker was so incredible. It was pretty awesome.
We'll probably talk about that later on, but let's okay.
So State of Affairs. I'm back above 1300 after dipping below yet again. You know, hate to be this guy, but servers were bad. And I think
US
everybody
East specifically, they called it Slideshow Dota.
And that's
enjoying another game of Slideshow Dota. Yeah, it sucked. It really destroyed a lot of attitude and a lot of games.
Yeah, we all suffered.
Well,
we all suffered.
It makes you like look back at the times you were bitching when the servers were okay about the game? Like, this is stupid, and you're just like want to slap that guy in the face that passed you from a week ago. Because now, like, it is really unplayable. And I was in a game earlier, and like, it was showing damage, like it was still ticking down the damage correctly, but like the creep would be standing and then dead and then standing again. Like, it was that bad. Like, and the ping was like 70 ms still.
Yeah.
But it was still like shuddering.
Yeah, I see.
I think it's incorrect.
I've been keeping track of my ping as well.
They're gonna fix it.
I never go above 80.
It's gonna get fixed.
It was
Whatever's
better.
happening, it was okay today.
And you try to, like, this is what's great about the free to play model too, is because you're like, I paid nothing for this.
Yeah.
It's like, I have no entitlement whatsoever to this game. Because usually, like, that's gamers' bitch card is, I paid for this. It's like, with this game, you're like, I free nothing?
I paid for aesthetics that I love.
My skins, though, aren't part of the game, really.
Cyphus, I want to talk to you, seeing as we're doing State of Affairs, I want you, if you would, please, to elaborate on your new Crystal Maiden discovery and how much we all love it.
Oh, yeah, sure. No, I feel like I've started to master her, and I know that everybody was suffering because I was suffering on the team, and I apologize. I know
you're
that
the
has
newest.
a ripple effect.
You are the newest.
Well, and it probably has a ripple effect because I'm your support. So if your support's struggling, then the rest of you are going to be struggling. And you know,
I guess that goes with any position, though.
Yeah, but you notice it early on you notice it much earlier with the support, probably.
It's just such an awesome hero.
Unless you're like a Wraith King, just noob feeding, like,
we'll talk
way
about
early
that
in the game.
Hey, let's not. We'll talk about that. We'll get there.
No, the Blink Dagger. I mean, that was
on Crystal Maiden.
Yeah, there had been some, and I don't think we even got into this on the show, but there had been some discussion previously about. It came up from 3Flow and Wazoo, you as well. Why don't I build a Force Staff with her instead of a Blink Dagger? And so I was playing a few games where that's what I was building. Because Crystal, in a way, can be an initiator, especially if somebody's trying to... Well, and if somebody's trying to get away, everybody loves Crystal jumping up in there and freezing the guy who's running away.
Yep.
So the rest of the team can catch up.
Sure.
How many kills have I solidified just by doing that? But the Force Staff wasn't the way to go.
For initiation.
For initiation, or for really the ultimate strategy with her, because her ult is a channeled ult, right?
Yeah.
And the longer, or the more points you put into it, the more you level it up, the longer it lasts, the longer she channels, more damage it does. But if she gets hit, she's taken out of that channeling. Or stunned, or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, she
can get hit. She can't die. No, she can get hit.
No, she can't.
You let us know.
Right, you move on. Your State of Affairs, Wazoo.
Okay, I am 2100 on my party and 2103 on my solo. Lost a lot, brought down a couple hundred points, but my attitude is not, diminished whatsoever. Although it's been hard with the servers, very frustrating. But not much else to report, I suppose.
Okay.
The struggle is real.
Yes, it is. I'm Roland. My MMR, my solo MMR is below 1300. I'm at like 1270, and my party MMR is just below 1500. We've been doing a lot of work with the show and not too much Dota playing, but I imagine I am somewhere around a 1500 to 2000 MMR player. I feel like that is roughly where my MMR is accurate. And seeing as we're doing State of Affairs, I'll do a little bit for Wazoo. That Faceless Void game, he rage quit at like level 2. He died and he rage quit. So the attitude in a game does need to be solid, even with this lag. Because it hurt all of us.
I did rage quit, though.
You did rage quit.
I just told you I couldn't do it. I couldn't do Shutter Dota.
Sure.
So I just logged
But
off.
everybody else is doing it too. I mean, you got to figure.
Yeah,
they
but
have the same
that was
disadvantages.
unplayable.
We got through it and we won, even though it was 4v5. We won, and I think that's the whole point behind the show. Is we're going to talk about attitude today and keeping a good one and what a bad one can do. Have you found that, Cyphus?
I can't locate it. I'm trying to.
We'll
find...
let the viewers decide. Listeners.
Is Maiden knocked out of her ult by being hit?
And by hit, that could be by a neutral creep, that could be by a creep, that could be by a hero.
Yeah,
That's
I just
right
have
click.
noticed that I fall out, or I stop the ult, the channeling, like I even see the bar quit halfway through.
You know why? Probably you're taking a step. The second you take a step, you're out of it.
I'm not clicking. Okay. I'm not doing that. I'm not clicking
Somebody
away.
must concede. Somebody must concede on this.
Anyway, the point with Crystal Maiden I was trying to make her, or you continue on. Sorry.
Oh no, my state of affairs was very concise, succinct. Pretty much the same place where I am. Pretty much playing the same heroes. I played a game as Wraith King, which Cyphus brought up earlier, where I died like 30 times in the game, and it was lag, and I had like a mental breakdown. It felt like in the middle of it. It was like, one of the harder games for me to play.
Yeah, I could tell it was deteriorating within minutes of the game going.
Yeah, dude, just being torn apart. But yeah, it was rough, and there was lag involved, and it is the most horrible.
And some
feeling.
Lane confusion.
I found something indirectly that proves my point. It says that she's unable to be knocked out of her ult when she BKBs. You can't knock her out.
Well, that's a Black King bar.
Yeah,
which means she's immune to magic, and
magic
it's not
damage.
just.
But you can still physically attack her.
Well,
So
anyway,
here at Defense of the Patients, we're not about proving people wrong or right.
You don't want Force Staff. I guess to go back to the point, you don't want Force Staff over Blink Dagger because you want to be able to blink into areas that are very difficult to access. Force Staffing into those areas is going to knock down trees, and they're still going to have access to you. You want to be doing that ult in a location where they can't reach you.
Sounds like you need to defend your Dota dissertation, because I completely disagree with you.
No.
Almost fundamentally.
Oh,
just
yeah.
because of the stats that are
wrong,
provided
but
from
that's okay.
Force Staff. I didn't.
The stats, okay, and that was the
the
argument.
This is what I argued him, and he convinced me. So I guess we can.
Oh,
do it
okay.
again on
I
the
haven't
air.
heard the convinced.
Okay, so that is the argument, yes, and
I've yet to be convinced.
that is why I was building Force Staff over Blink Dagger initially. Was why not get a boost to my intelligence?
Well, can I just make an addendum real fast? Like, Force Staff is thought of a good item for supports for more than just the reason of the int. It's like you can throw it on people, you can help other people escape. Like, you can pretty much throw.
You can't blink somebody away with a Blink Dagger, but
Right.
you can Force Staff somebody away with a Force
Right,
Staff.
and so that's why it's considered a good item because you can help in escapes and stuff.
It's
for
a very
supports.
supportive item.
Right.
Yeah.
But
And that would be another argument I'd bring up, is that once you get pretty handy with that Force Staff, if you're paying attention to the way the ally hero is running and you Force Staff them, it has a huge range, for one. And for two, you can get them out of the fight. 650 units, I think, is what it pushes them.
600, yeah.
600 units.
And the HP regen's nice as well, for sure.
It's huge. It's a huge item for Crystal Maiden for survivability.
Okay, sure.
And that's my point.
And here's the
different builds,
counter.
maybe.
Here's the counter to that.
Okay.
One, because Crystal Maiden is Crystal Maiden with that passive E ability that gives the mana reboost or regen to everybody
Sure.
globally.
And its max is at 3.6 per second, I think.
It maxes at, I think, 3.5, and for her it doubles. Or I think it might max at 2.5. Anyway, so she so if Crystal has that double mana regen, you're never building arcane boots with her. That would just be completely pointless. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So instead what you're doing is you're building tranquil boots with her and then getting that massive health regen. Right.
Yes.
So with the health regen that I'm getting from the tranquil boots, I don't need to get that health regen from the Force Staff.
Is it giving you regen in a fight, the Tranquil Boots?
Almost always, because I don't right click.
If you get hit or right click, it takes off Tranquil Boots.
But I'm not right clicking because I want fast movement speed with her.
Sure.
I want the plus 90 over the plus 50. I want to be moving very swiftly around.
Swift as the wolves of Ishrak.
That's right. If you cast a spell instead of taking a right click, it doesn't cancel the tranquils. I can cast all of my spells without interfering with that. So it's rare that I'm not utilizing the tranquils. And if we're ever in a fight, and whether I have a Blink Dagger or a Force Staff, I have an escape available. Sure, I've got 3 seconds more on the blink than I do the Force Staff, but
and I guess I will agree with you a little bit on the Force Staff, because you don't need the intelligence as much with Crystal Maiden because you already have that mana regen.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're not right clicking.
I'm not right clicking.
You're not a right
But
clicker.
also, I can see Cyphus's frustration in a way because, like, everyone he talks to are people that don't play Maiden and probably have less than 4 games with her.
Right. And
it's just like, I disagree with you. It's like, sorry, man, I've been playing this goddamn hero for 25 goddamn hours, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I understand that.
Right. So the blink, here's the point. the ultimate point. The int, not that important. The HP regeneration, not that important. What is important is where you're moving. And Force Staff, the way Force Staff moves you, it'll knock down trees. I don't want my opponents to be able to get to me. It's better for me to blink behind trees and use that ult than it is for me to Force Staff away from them.
And let me paint a picture of words here. Because there was moments in Rosh where they couldn't take Rosh without having that ult, Maiden ult, go over their heads, because you would blink up on that ridge, they wouldn't be able to see you, and you would just
They had no idea I was there at all while Ursa was running in to take that.
And that's really
Rosh
valuable. That's really valuable. And what you were doing, you can still do that with a Force Staff. I don't think, like...
well, sure.
I don't think you get...
In that position, it would have been
You're making
okay.
an argument that it takes out the trees, and I understand that. That's a big one. For situationally, it's better.
Yes.
But you can still Force Staff into hard-to-reach cliffs and stuff. It's
right.
just harder to do.
No. I mean, my point being...
Like,
right, that Rosh Pit situation is the worst example you could actually provide of me using the Blink Dagger, because it didn't matter if I knocked down trees to get there.
We all use Blink Daggers. We know why they're good. They blink you out of the way.
Right.
Movement is key.
I think that
Escape is key.
It's the simplest way to illustrate what that ult can do in terms of a positional advantage it provides on the map.
And in a team fight,
or,
especially
defensive advantage,
especially along the lanes with Crystal, like beyond freezing somebody, which I'm not doing that often, the cooldown is actually, I think, worse than the Shaman Shackle cooldown.
It also does damage. Well, does Shackle do damage too?
Shackle does damage over time.
That's right.
Yeah, after the duration of the channel. And the freeze does damage as well, sure, but
negligible amounts.
I'm not freezing that often. Or I don't need, and I do freeze. I initiate with a freeze for you guys whenever it's possible, but I'll usually blink out in a team fight to just along the ridge behind some trees, throw down that ult, and give you guys damage over time on the entire team.
There's times I saw you miss it, though, because it's another one of those Dota, I don't know, I guess nuanced type things, like when that hits. Because I saw you back up along the tier 1 on Dyer. Up in the woods, remember when there's that hero, I can't remember who it was, running around back there, and you ulted? It didn't hit him, even though he was in the radius, because he was tucked behind, like, out of vision. Yeah. So it didn't hit him. And I was like, what the hell? It's like pelting the area, but it wasn't doing any damage. At least that I could see.
Yeah, I didn't notice.
Maybe it wasn't revealing his health bar because he was in the fog of war or something. Or I don't know. But
anyway, it was effective, though, with the Rosh Pit.
I think your Maiden play's awesome, dude. And when you have a good Maiden, like... There's a reason she's still picked competitively so often, because she is that stereotypical...
I think it all has to do with the global mana regeneration.
No, it doesn't. Not all of it.
Well, not most
That's valuable.
Most
That's very valuable.
And her disable and her slow.
It makes her multiple ways. She's really solid.
And we were talking about this a lot.
She has
for
AoE,
compositions.
she has the mana regen. She has the slow.
She's awesome. But the mana regeneration's awesome. You don't have to be laning with her. I can be in the woods with Doom, who has a very low mana pool, as everybody who has played Doom knows. You start out with like 150 mana or something like that. If I'm getting 2.0 mana regen that early, it doesn't even matter. I can do anything I want to do. Scorched Earth that heals me, consume a creep to give me golden experience. Whereas in a different game without Crystal Maiden, I'd have to be spending money to do that, buying clarities, which provide you mana over
There's
time.
some of these things that are just so core in the game, like... Turns out mana's always good. It's always good to have that regen in the game, because Dota's not a game that gives you mana or health like wantonly. It's something like once you leave the base, you've left the base, man. You're out in the wilds.
Exactly.
And if you can get something delivered to you, or someone can like pop a potion, like you popped a potion on me, and I felt like a dick the other day because you popped it, and I was like, don't do that at the creep line, because like one little like bead hits you from those casters, and it's just done.
I popped it, and you turned and ran back towards the creep
line. I know,
line.
but I didn't know it was being popped on me.
Yeah, well, so I also didn't know you were turning to run back and charge the creeps.
Yeah. And Cyphus is such a good support that you don't even have to ask. He'll just throw on a potion and a healing salve, as they call. But the thing is, there's nothing worse than spending 150 gold, 150 early gold.
115.
115.
135 for the tangos.
Yeah, 130.
Tangos are the best.
Yeah, it's some arbitrary amount of gold that's a lot, okay? At the time. It feels like 5,000 gold for late game. And getting hit and watching it go away. And same with clarities. It's a
with this
feeling.
lag, though, it's like... Yeah, I don't know. It's introduced me to like the dark side of myself in a way.
Yeah, and I think this is a good segue possibly into the strategy discussion we're going to have today, which is
mindsets. I'm gonna try to like domineer. Well, this doesn't sound right. This isn't a bondage podcast. I'm going to try to like helm this discussion on the basis that of what you mentioned earlier of my rage quit. Out of a game earlier, I was playing Faceless Void, and oh boy, was I boiling. And like it doesn't help. Like we play in a TeamSpeak room, and like all my frustration goes into that room.
Into me.
I was not in this game.
Once again, this isn't a bondage podcast, like Roland. But
get your mind out of the gutter.
No, there's some things I really can't stand sometimes in Dota, and that's when there's technical difficulties. And people are like giving you advice during those technical difficulties. Like you're lagging out and you can like hardly cast a spell, and they're like, "You should not feed," and you're like, "But really, you know?"
Can I paint the picture on this game? Because
can I talk? No, can I talk?
Well, I just want to say we won the game 4v5 despite Wazoo leaving.
All that gold.
No, you left at like level 2 or whatnot when you died.
But you actually get more gold when someone's out of the game.
You get the same amount of gold. It's just split 4 ways now instead of 5.
Yes, so that's more gold for 4 heroes.
More gold, per second, which isn't huge. I don't get a bigger split of the tower falling or anything like that. I don't think so, at least.
Yeah, you do.
Oh wow. Well, anyway, it was tough, and I know you were having like a breakdown similar to I played a game last night as Wraith King.
No, like I wasn't though. Like what bugs me the most is when people tell me like how I was feeling.
Sure.
I was not having a breakdown. The reason I left the game was so I would not have a breakdown, though. I knew that moment was surmounting, or else I wouldn't have left the game. I was just frustrated. And so when I see frustration that isn't going to end, then I'm going to leave the game.
But is it
almost every time?
Is it worth, leaving the game, I guess, is the question to ask, is should you stay
if I'm not able to play, like if it's unplayable for me, why? It's not even staying in the game. It's not even playing the game at that point.
Well, there were other methods there. You could have restarted the computer. You could have restarted your connection, and who knows what could have happened to fix it.
Roland? Like, because that's what's been going on and posted all over Reddit, or not server problems, but...
And see, and this
that
is
probably our router.
This is perfect. You're getting incredibly defensive.
You are, and you're getting upset. And that's what this game can do to you. And we want to talk about, that attitude. Is it worth staying in a game if you're going to have that attitude?
Feel the hate flow through your veins, Wazoo.
And I want you to answer that. Do you feel that you would have been more detriment to the team if you would have stayed on and your attitude would have worsened?
Well, were you last night? Like, what if I would have fed 20 kills, like with Wraith King?
It was more than 20. It was more. It was like 30.
Yeah, there's a point where you realize that you're not going to be doing something good for your team.
Sure.
And if I see that and I see it's not getting better, I'm leaving the game every time. Every time.
So do you think...
And that's a controversial opinion, but I will abandon every game where I see that my presence will be a detriment. Gone. I'm out of the game.
And then
See ya.
But then you have to think of the other 4 people, or other 9 people maybe, that are experiencing that too. Would they rather just mute you and just continue on the game? And
I don't give a shit.
Okay. So that is your opinion. You don't give a shit. You think leaving is the way to go.
I think if I'm lagging out and I keep disconnecting every 40 seconds and I can't like stutter step through the game, then I'm going to leave. Sorry, I'm not even playing the game at that point.
Sure.
To say like I should consider 9 other people when like I'm not even like playing the game really. Like, sorry, not going to happen.
Yeah, and so you feel you were doing them a favor instead of a disservice.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Because the game will be... I also give everyone an option to abandon the game if they so please.
And don't get me wrong, this is not me calling Wazoo out. This is just a recent thing that happened. We all have these attitudes. I have a higher abandon rate than Wazoo does. And that's why Wazoo didn't get punished for leaving this game.
No, I never get low prio games because I only abandon... I don't know, a game or 2 every 200 games. But some games are so terrible, and I think some people in the Dota community like ignore that. It's like you should always stick around, never abandon. It's like sometimes I'm sorry.
And we're being realistic today.
I'm sorry.
And that's what I really like. And that's why I'm glad you have these feelings you have and that you're obviously upset about it. Because you feel strongly. And it's good.
I rage sometimes. I do hard on Dota, and I will admit this project was created in a way to give us a constructive outlet that wasn't just me saying, well, you feed and blah, blah, blah. And like for us to learn this game together. But honestly, like I hate when people fucking subscribe their feelings onto me. Like you were freaking out. Like, did I like run a knife along my wrists and like spread blood over my face? Like, what is freaking out? What's your definition like here? Did I like, am I drinking the blood of a boar like outside on the front lawn? Like my mind is broken as a person because of this game.
And I'm so glad we finally got into this.
Yes, but
Yeah,
that's
I've
not
been waiting
happening.
to tap your
I'm
edge.
getting mad, and I'm listening to you, and you're like, "Oh, you died. I saved you with my stuns,"
Yeah,
and I'm like
that's
stunned.
okay.
I'm still stunned in the lag, man.
Wazoo,
I'm still stunned.
Let me talk now
Okay.
about the game, and I thank you so much. I'm so glad. I'm not meaning to call you out, but I'm glad we caught you in this moment where it's still so fresh, where you still feel these feelings towards
This is
that
some
game.
dirty ass reporting, man. You're like fucking Geraldo in the '90s here. This is like
So we're laning together. He's Faceless Void. I'm Ogre Magi. As you know, Ogre Magi, his first ability is a really good stun, his Q. Then his W is a damage over time ability. And I am not lagging. On the contrary, Wazoo is, and you can tell he is because he's doing.
which is frustrating because we're on the same connection.
Sure, we're on the same.
We live together.
But that happened last night too.
I actually, and this is going to be so interesting for all the fans at home, but you're on 2 different routers, and
so it may
I
not be the
sometimes
same
have a
connection.
better
Yeah, you just told
experience
them
on
our
one
back
router
door,
over
yo.
the other.
Anyway, so we're down in the lane, and I know Wazoo's lagging because I can see that he's doing things that aren't in his nature that he would not normally
Especially
do.
as Void. We see you
Yeah.
play a lot of Void,
And he
so
plays
we're
good.
familiar.
He plays a good Void, so he was like walking into creeps and standing in the middle of creeps, and creeps are hitting him. And
But
I'm like,
Void,
what the hell
like,
is he doing?
Void's not a good hero to play when you're
With lag.
shutter lagging because
Yeah.
that was like
It's hard.
that was like 1920s like man with a long mustache and a top hat Dota like doing a reel.
Yeah.
Like is what it feels like with these servers. And he's like, get your Dota 25 cents.
And
you know?
so
Probably less,
what
but
was happening is
I couldn't even time walk out before
No.
I was like shuttered back into the
and
position.
you didn't die. You still did pretty good. But
I
we
only
were
died
against,
once, but I wasn't gonna die more, man.
I want to paint the picture for the audience.
Okay.
I'm Ogre Magi. Wazoo is Faceless Void, and we're laning safe lane against Sven and Sand King. And Sand King's doing the usual annoying sandstorm where you can't see him, and you're just taking damage over time, and he's just controlling an area. And Sven has his equally annoying stun that hits you, and you're stunned for what feels like 3 hours, and you're usually dead from it. Well, what was happening is Wazoo was getting stunned and then stunned again by Sand King, and I was stunning one or the other, and he was barely getting away. And Wazoo says to me, "Where's all your mana?" after 4 minutes. And I'm like, "Well, I've saved your life twice now," is what I said
And
to
this
him.
is where I'm glad you brought this up. Oh, boy.
Oh, no.
All day I've been
I'm
thinking
so
about this,
scared.
and I'm just like in the shower washing my hair, and I'm like, what a dick. I can't wait. No. You act like every stun was a solid saving my ass stun, but only 2
Did you
were.
die?
Yes, once.
Once.
Yeah, because you didn't have
When
mana.
I was out of mana, after saving you twice.
Can I finish my Fredericking point, please?
I mark
Frederick?
every podcast as having explicit language, so
Good.
feel free to just let that fuck go.
Okay, I need to let something go.
Yeah, just
But-
get it all out, man. Get it all out.
The first thing you fucking do when you run out into lane with me is throw a stun onto a guy. That's the first thing you do.
That's
and I
noob
see you do it
support.
every single goddamn game where this is your idea as a good support is run and throw out a stun right off the bat, right as your creeps waves meet. And that's not a good thing because it's just like, oh, it stunned him. And it's like, I see that, you know? But like, how does that benefit us when he just pops a tango? You're out of the mana. And then I'm like, why are you doing that, dude? We don't need to do that. And you go, I brought clarity. And then you pop one. And it's like,
Okay, so I'm going to arbitrate once again, and I play a lot of support, so I hope that I get at least a little bit of weight behind my words.
Sure.
I understand. So first of all, the hardest thing for me to take in, or the hardest thing to correct about my play as a support early on, was having plenty of players tell me, "Don't harass with, insert name of spell here.
Yeah.
Harass with your right clicks, especially early game. You're not." Like, you're saving that stun, you're saving your mana pool for the first gank and praying that it happens in your lane. Or you're saving that stun for the moment that a hero who's a little too low on health oversteps, and then you're burning mana to do it.
right.
Most of the time you're harassing. Now, on the flip side, decent supports are probably picking up a clarity, if not for themselves, for their carry in the lane. And you're building that mana regen. Some heroes, sometimes it is nice to harass a little bit with those those spells early on, even still, and you shouldn't overdo it, but it is nice to harass a little bit early on because it can force them out of lane
Value.
if they didn't prep
I would argue
properly.
value. If you're throwing out a stun that costs 125 mana for 50 damage, and it's stunning them for a little bit, and you gain no ground, no more health on them, and they just heal it with a tango, you wasted mana.
Well, and it doesn't sound like in your situation like your stun was forcing them out of lane.
No. And
No.
let's just start. I'm going to suppose that my stuns were horrible. And it's such a circumstantial game, we can't say. Maybe that stun, even before the game actually starts, maybe it got you first blood. That's a good stun, right? If it gets you first blood. Sure. So you can't just say it's bad to use stuns right off the bat.
But it's probably not going to get you first blood.
No,
before,
I'm not
like,
talking.
level...
I'm not talking
saying
about
mine were
running
bad.
up and throwing a miraculous stun. Like you're making it sound like this stun was like could have been up with the best of stuns, but no,
It's on the pro reels, but that's
no,
okay.
it was not on any pro reel, man. This was like a stun that sits in like
okay,
an abandoned porn theater.
They're going to put like little sound effects like with it.
This wasn't. It was just a reaction that you have, and everyone has it.
Let me
You
defend
run out in
myself.
the lane and you throw your spells on the guy.
Sure.
But that's what you're doing.
Sure,
It wasn't
and I'm a new player, and I can do that because I'm a new player. And to defend myself, we're going to suppose that every stun was horrible. Okay, even though they weren't. Every stun was horrible. Okay.
I never said that either.
How many supports do you know that are melee?
Earthshaker's melee support. Obviously, Ogre Magi.
Yeah. Much harder, right?
Melee?
To harass.
Melee supports.
Melee supports that are stun heroes.
Yeah, much harder to harass with your right click.
Oh, absolutely.
Would you agree?
Yeah, but
Okay.
I mean, how much mana does Ogre Magi?
A very big pool. When
really?
I'm at level 25, without
No.
items, I'm at like 1,500 mana. So I'm starting with roughly around.
No. My
300.
question to you is because that doesn't matter. My question to you is how much mana does that stun require, and how much do you start with?
120, and I could start with 2 stuns. So I used one of them, but I bought 3 clarity, and
But
maybe that's
all
too
your
much.
mana's still gone by 4 minutes, man.
Sure.
Like what?
And-
what's the point?
Well, all my mana was gone is because you were lagging, you were in those creeps, and I was having to throw stuns, and maybe they didn't save your life, but they at least psychologically fucked with the other people to get them so they didn't kill you, so you could time lock out. And that was my argument. Maybe it didn't save your life, maybe it did. But back to attitude. My attitude was I was Jesus, saving you, curing you of any harm that
I believe
could have
it's
been
called.
done.
You're talking about the Kanye West album Yeezus, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
right?
Jesus.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
And you.
He's one of our show sponsors.
Yeah, a big Dota 2 fan
Kanye
turns
West.
out. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Big time.
And you were obviously having a frustrating game, and it just goes to show that like I had this attitude that I think wasn't a constructive one either, that I was giving myself more credit than maybe deserved, that I thought I was saving your life, and despite the lag that you're receiving, you should thank me that I don't have mana because I saved your life.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for using
All
all
right,
your stuns.
I figured out-
Can I just one more thing?
All right,
It's
all
so weird being in a TeamSpeak channel with someone after you leave, like abandon a game you're in with them.
I muted
Like I'm like
you.
I can't do this, and I just I figured you did something like that.
I muted you because he was pissed, and I was just like,
No,
well,
I
I'm
just
still
said I
in this
can't do
game.
it. I can't do it. I'm leaving.
Here's
I wasn't
the deal.
pissed.
The
You
same-
circumscribe shit, man.
Let's let Cyphus talk.
The same way you two aren't allowed to sit on the same side at a restaurant, you guys aren't allowed to lane together anymore either. That's why one of you is a carry and the other's an offlaner. We need you in 2 different lanes. Otherwise, you're too close.
Yeah, if we pay attention to each other's play, something's gonna get brought up and it's gonna piss somebody off. But yeah, I know exactly what he's talking about, and we see it with random people that we play with, because we're usually a 3-stack. It's Roland, Cyphus, and Wazoo playing together, and then we get 2 other people.
Yeah.
And those people, when they're experiencing a bad attitude, they're the biggest douchebags in the world, dude. Oh, this fucking guy, we're losing and he's freaking out, raging on us. What are you doing? What are you doing? And we're like, look at this guy. What a joke, as we're saying amongst ourselves. But we go through it too. It's like there's a lot of, I don't know, mental weight that goes into this game that we play. The games are long, arguably longer than most.
Sure.
Video
Look at
games
that
we played.
90-minute game we played.
Yeah, we played a 90-minute long game. Where
I think
you
we
were
talked about it on the last episode.
high stress
actually.
level the
Yeah.
entire time. You're wanting to win. Dota has made me want to win more than... We're all competitive people, and losing Dota hurts worse than losing about anything else, especially when you're winning.
I lost my wife, but then I found Dota, so I was like, eh.
No, Wazoo has never been married. He didn't lose his wife for Dota, although he may lose a future wife for Dota.
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
see.
yeah.
I'll just come over and beat you, dude. When I get angry.
And the rage really does come out in all of us.
No, I don't know. Like, main thing that I think correlates between us two, like, that really, like, starts is we disagree with each other's drafts a lot. It's just like, why the hell would you...
We're too critical on
like,
each
one
other.
time I was yelling at you guys because they picked, like, PA, and, like, everyone continued to pick like, these slow-ass heroes, and it was just like, I don't know. And I pick wrong, too, all the time. Like, but, of course, when you do it, it's like...
It
it happens, and then when other people do it, you're like, how do you dare do that?
But
you
my
know?
way of raging, I think, is more passive-aggressive than yours. Like, your way of raging is like, you're wrong, you're dumb, fuck you. And my way of raging is like, well, this game would have been a lot better had he not picked that hero.
Well, sometimes
and
when I
that's
see
just
that
kind
you're
of the
doing that,
difference.
it makes me more mad.
Oh, I know it makes you more
It
mad.
starts my rage train rolling when I see, like, when you're complimenting the team too much and you're doing smiley faces at the end of anything, because that's how you deal with it, is being overly nice. You're just like, that was very good play indeed, smiley face.
Oh, he doesn't like when I tell the other team they're doing good. He hates that. Oh yeah, that Clockwork. He should be in TI5. He should be in TI5. That Clockwork that just killed you. Wow, he's so good. Wow, he's so good.
Wow, 4 and 8, 4 and 8. Yeah, he's a great Clockwork.
Yeah,
that's
you-
what I kept
I
hearing
believe
that night.
I use the words motherfucking groundbreaking and stuff like that.
And it's just so Wazoo. How do you get yourself into a better attitude after going through the Faceless Void game or something like that?
You gotta realize that you only account for 20% of the team. I think when you start to get into the control issues, which I think everyone has in Dota, especially when people are playing things that they think they can play better. It's not a game like any other. You have very specific roles, and your heroes have very specific abilities. And so when you see someone do it and you think you can do better, it's like automatically like, get this noob off this hero and get me on it. Like, clone me and put me on twice, you know? And it's unrealistic at our level of play, and it's stupid. And like, I personally have rage issues with games, and I have for a while. You know, it's improved over the years. Like, I used to be an angry young man, but I deal with it now by, like, honestly, like, saying snippety things and being a dick. Anyways, and I
you
just
feel-
like
and
let
that is-
off.
And that's not a healthy way to deal with it.
That
No,
isn't. But
I know.
if that's his way to deal with it, you know what I do to people
But like,
that?
it
I
bugs
mute-
me.
I
It
mute
bugs
them.
me that like you guys can like stand on a high horse and not see your own behavior that's not necessarily unhealthy, because I see it in you and I see it in you as well.
Definitely.
And like, but you guys still take like, even though I rage, like, even though like that's of course like more extreme to an extent.
Ours isn't as in your face, and that's why we can get away with the like, you know, feeling like we're on a higher horse or something like that. We don't feel that way. We rage. I've seen Cyphus rage.
Yep, everyone does.
But your way of raging is different, and I think that's with
And
anybody.
more frequent.
And maybe a little more frequent. But like I said, I'm the more passive aggressive rager. I tend to be like, it would have been better had we done this, but we're doing great, guys. And Cyphus, I've seen you with like, you know what? I just don't know what to do. They just keep telling me to ward here, and I don't know what to do. And
Yeah.
you kind of freak out that way. Whereas Wazoo is kind of in your face about it. And I think all of these attitudes are unhealthy. I think the best way to do it is maybe mute all the sound and put on music. That's what I'll do when I find that coming on. I'll mute all the sound, just play and just chill out. You know, because sometimes you have to.
Sure.
It's not always going to go the way you want.
I've definitely gotten better about muting other players, but it's different when it definitely is different when you're playing with your friends. You know.
Sure.
But when you're at different skill levels, you guys will understand it's incredibly frustrating, man. Because when you guys were going through what you're going through now, like, and Roland, you feed like 15 kills almost every game. I was looking through your, like, and that's hard, man. It's hard to play with someone who feeds a lot.
Sure.
Like, I don't mean to be rude, and every time I, like, bring it up when we're playing or something, like, it comes off as a dick move, but sometimes, like,
I'm new to the game. I
know.
do feed. I do things aggressively. And
Yeah.
I don't, in the moment, think they're wrong. But after, at the end of the game, sure, I think they're wrong.
and I'm not good at the game by any means, but it is frustrating to have witnessed myself go through that behavior and then corrected it for myself and then go through it with other people.
You got to let them learn.
And I know, you got to let them learn, but at the same time, you want to be, like, overly aggressive in ways, in terms of being like, when they do that, be able to like point it out really loud and really proud and quick and be like, you're chasing, you're being an idiot, you're chasing, you know, and that's not constructive.
No.
And But the thing is how you don't realize what you're doing in that moment as someone who like is only looking at like the situation objectively. I'm not thinking about your feelings in that moment. I'm thinking purely about that objective. And it comes off as like incredibly insensitive and dickish. And I'm trying to fix it, but it's only going to come through more play, I think, more comfortable play. And honestly, like being upfront about it helps me personally, because rather than it be something where like, no, that's not behavior that's accepted. Like that's not bad behavior. Like it is unacceptable behavior, but you know, I guess that's another podcast entirely.
Yeah, I don't know that we ever really touched on what we were trying to touch on. Maybe this was more therapy for the three of us this
Who
time
knows?
around.
Like, because we are getting as a group dynamic, small group dynamic, we get frustrated with each other a lot. But honestly, Dota's an incredibly frustrating game.
Sometime
it really is.
Sometime maybe we should just talk about like even just the basics of small team or small group communication. Sure. I mean, you both
have taken that class.
I've taken several. Several communication and several interpersonal communication site courses.
Wazoo just finished one in small group.
But I mean, yeah, there are definitely elements of that are very applicable to Dota. And you are dealing with a small group. That's like the ideal small group, 5 people.
But it's not always a small group you can choose to play with. And the different frustrations that come, you don't often. I'd say
it frequently is for us. And I'm
but
sure
it never
there are
was
other
for
listeners
me
out
starting out. Like I think someone who, like when you solo queue in Dota, it's a completely different experience than playing with friends. I mean,
sure,
because you like people are way more aggressive in Dota as strangers. Everyone's seen these guys, you know, like don't play ranked, you know, like yelling at you, like when you're doing anything wrong, and stuff like that. Like, and I think that it's like. Go back to like Bane again, man, like formed in the darkness of the darkness. Like when you're formed by that rage and that's how you learn how to play the game. Like, I don't know. I was kind of like brought up playing Dota 2, like my first several hundred hours, like being yelled at until like you're eventually doing it right. And like, that's just kind of how I like assumed the Dota community was. And like so many people,
it's a harsh community. As
didn't
far
want to
as
play the game for that reason. It does hurt you. It breaks you down. But
I'll be honest.
I'm not using that to justify my behavior by any means.
I feel like you get the behavior you posit reciprocated back to you, and by that I mean like I've had a couple of experiences playing where somebody was just a complete asshole, somebody you would never want to meet in real life if that's how they're handling strangers on a game. But at the same time, like I don't know, and you call it the nice guy Cyphus routine, but I try to be friendly with everybody, you know, thank them for whatever they're doing. Like I feel like I get a lot of that reciprocated, and I don't have a lot of solo queue matches under my belt, obviously. Or even enough to get a ranking, since I primarily play with you two after a busy day of school and
but
or
you
work.
Get plenty of shit from both Wazoo and I.
Oh,
and
sure,
and
that's a very different. But that's a very different thing when you're talking about the kind of shit that I'm getting from the two of you. I mean, you are two people that I'm choosing to party up with and frequently play with.
Really, I used to rage really hard, like playing Street Fighter and stuff, and it was really easy for me to like start to fix that when I started to realize that you were playing with real people. I mean, you really are. Like when you're playing a game of Dota with someone, like what you say, you're saying that to another living human being. And if you can hopefully try to make like you said, you don't necessarily need to be like bend over backwards kind to everyone you meet on a game of Dota, but for the most part, people will listen to you better if you're kinder. I've noticed in personal experience, because like I've gotten a flipped view because I played my first 500 or so hours, I'd say, solo queue alone. I played some with Free Flow, but you know, that was it. One other person. And then I played the others solo, and at first, like, Dota broke me as a rager almost. I used to rage at other games. I don't rage at other games anymore. I just rage at Dota because it's like I've never been more frustrated, never been more harassed in any other game than Dota. Like trying to hook and have like some like person in your ear like screaming how much of like a motherfucker you are, you know, and like stuff like that. Like it gets under your skin. It really does.
Anytime I get criticized for how I'm building the particular hero or what, you know, what item choice
It feels
I made
like
with
someone
the hero.
is saying you are a complete fucking idiot.
Well, no,
sometimes.
no, I don't have that view, honestly. Like, I get what's going on, and that is that this is someone who either has played the game more than me or perceives themselves to be more experienced than I am with a particular hero. And I can't tell you how many times it's been easy enough to disarm it with a statement like, hey, thanks for the advice. I'm still practicing Crystal Maiden, or I'm just getting familiarized with Crystal. Thanks for the advice. I'll take that into consideration next time.
It's so hard to do that when you're as prideful as Wazoo and I are.
But if you can build that up like as an automatic response,
sure.
I can't tell you many of those guys, like, it just completely disarms them. When it's somebody who, when you, like, for some reason, I don't know, it's my my ultra positive view of humanity that maybe I shouldn't have.
Good, because we need that in this group.
Yeah. He's the firefighter in the group.
Sure.
Cyphus is.
One more thing I think I might
and then we
add
need to
is
move on.
Dota really puts you in a position with your teammates that not many other online games do. I mean, like I said earlier, it's a very specialized game, but usually the anger is directed towards your enemies.
Yeah.
But in Dota, it feels like your anger is almost always directed towards your teammates if you're losing. You know what I mean?
Well, you also don't have as direct of a connection communication-wise to the opposing team as you do.
You can just all chat.
Yeah, if I can just chat, or if I can just scream through my mic at somebody, it's a lot easier to do that than it is to hit Shift-Enter and type a message, especially in a game that requires all your faculties like that.
It's true.
Anyway, we're going to move on. Since we've killed a ton of time there.
Sure.
So real quick, worst ways to die. We've got 3 nominees. Each of us picked one this week. And Roland, I'll let you start.
Okay. It's from Albert Sayalana, I think is what it says, or how the name is pronounced. Sorry if I mispronounced it. And it's basically, to summarize it, getting stuck from creeps and not having phase boots. Any type of creep, being stuck in there and dying, whether you're trying to escape, whether you're trying to chase after a hero. It wasn't too specific.
Shouldn't be chasing at that low health.
Yeah, but getting stuck by creeps as in maybe they're your own, is the way I took it. It wasn't horribly specific, but
I think he means getting stuck by the enemy's creeps.
Possibly, or
and getting wrapped around and he can't get out because he doesn't have phase boots.
And then you probably died at whatever hero's right behind you.
Sure, and that is a terrible way to die. We all know that feeling of just trying to weave through your own creeps or weave through enemy creeps and them just blocking you and seeing the enemy get away when you could have killed them earlier. So,
well, mine this week comes from Fridge Master via Twitter, who threatens us by saying, "Vote for my worst way to die or else." Worst way to die: eating poison nova in the face, running away safely, almost to the fountain, stuck at 1 HP, only to be denied by an ally.
And then
that's where you use your reports.
Yeah.
Okay, and mine is from that Phage guy. Phage is
and he's going to be our guest.
Right. He'll be our guest
cool.
on Thursday's show concerning he's the stats guy for
Standard Deviants
and does stuff for High Ground as well. So this is from Phage. That Phage guy is at Phage. That Phage guy is his Twitter. As Timbersaw finger spasm causes Bloodstone suicide after 5-0ing the opposing team.
Can you imagine that moment where like your fingers just hanging right over that Bloodstone just in case you have to use it there right at the end, just in case, and then.
Well, I kind of see the finger twitching and hitting the key as the smile appears on his face, like, and then he dies. That's maddening, but awesomely bad for worst way to die.
All right, Roland, let's vote.
A brief synopsis on those two. An ally killing you or killing yourself are basically, I'm going to say the best nominees. We want more specificity when you're turning in these...
Phage was playing Timbersaw, I believe.
No, he said that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Did I say that?
I think you read that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think you did. Albert Sayalana, I really appreciate this and all your support. We need a little more specificity. So I'm going to say that is a terrible way to die, but we're going to vote.
We want the hero you're playing. We want the heroes around
Exactly.
you. We want you to paint a word picture for us so we can actually grimace along with you.
All right, so I guess you're saying you're not voting for Albert.
Honorable mention.
Okay.
Honorable mention for
who
Albert
are you
Sayalana.
voting for?
I would be so fucking pissed if an ally killed me when I had gotten away and there was no way for them to kill me, if they had no like, if there was no Nature's Prophet for his ult, or there was no Sunstrike or anything like,
or Zeus
or any global way to kill me, like I had made it out at 1 health, because we were talking about that on the Sevo cast.
Yeah.
That poison from Venomancer will not kill you.
Yeah,
it'll bring you to 1 health.
But if he gets the poison or the gale on you or something, it can kill you. Right?
Yeah, if you have
it's
additional
the Nova that
things
can't kill you.
stack. Yeah, his ult will not kill you. And if somebody denied me, man,
yeah, that would be pretty awful.
I'm gonna vote for getting denied by my team, especially when you're almost to Fountain. Oh, I would freak.
How did you get denied again? Sorry.
An allied hero killed him.
Oh yeah.
Ooh. Speaking of getting mad at your allies.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm gonna go with. I mean, I'm with you. Like, that would be a miserable moment, and maybe one where even I would you'd probably just see me take my headset off and walk out of the room. If that happened. I don't know that I could really handle that, where I was like right there by the fountain. Even if there was like a Zeus or anybody in the game, like if I felt like I was close enough that I might, like I had a shot, like I had a legitimate shot. Yeah. I don't know. But even with that one, I can't imagine the facepalm that you would give yourself in that, going from that sheer moment of ecstasy of wiping a team to
you'd go
killing yourself with a bloodstone.
You'd go from a god to feeling like the biggest idiot on the planet.
Oh, and you'd be like,
quickly.
I would facepalm.
Lag.
So I'm gonna vote.
That's what you were doing yesterday, man. It wasn't lag.
I'm gonna vote the bloodstone.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote for Phage as well. I think.
All right. There's an upset. It's Phage.
So you have to give him some Timber Sug gear.
So Fridge Master, don't target Roland. He did vote for you.
Yeah, they have their own Twitters. Why don't you give your Twitters out so he can contact you?
Mine is @P_Roland.
Mine's @P.
That's not true.
I was just gonna keep going. I thought that was legit. I'm @P_Cyphus. So send. Actually, my address is 1123 Fake Street as well.
My Twitter is @P_Roland.
Oh, yeah.
I am Roland. And the Fridge Master, that's a terrible way to die. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. You know what? That's a terrible way. And
it is.
This is an upset.
It is an upset.
Yeah.
Roland, you look really upset.
This is an upset. Oh, yeah. But good job, Phage. You know, good job. We'll get you your
We will
swag.
buy you. We'll buy you some timber gear.
Timber saw underwear.
No, we need like a we can't get a bloodstone. We need like, I don't know, like
we'll find
something timber.
We'll find something.
We will send you a stone covered in our own blood.
No.
This has been a dark cast. We're getting down to the bare feelings of things.
All right. I'm gonna wrap us up. That was Worst Ways to Die. We thank you guys for playing along. You can always continue to play along with us @P_show on Twitter, at defenseofthepatients.com. That's our website. defenseofthepatients@gmail.com is our email address, where we also love getting the Worst Ways to Die, because you can, you're not limited to that 140 characters there. Mm-hmm. Swing by iTunes and give us a positive or funny review. We'd love to read that.
Or a bad review.
Admittedly,
whatever review you'd like.
Mm-hmm. Or a funny bad review would be even better.
Oh yeah, funny bad review.
I'd love a good
funny positive yet.
But
bad
maybe
review.
click 5 stars if you're doing the intentional funny bad review. You know?
Don't be
at least
so
give us an
character
indicator
that
that you love us a little bit.
Give us a wink.
And anything else we need to plug? Phage on Thursday, talking stats, and
Extremely excited.
I'm sure
that Phage guy is his Twitter.
Yeah, enjoying his
plug that as well.
We're gonna get into standard deviation, right?
Well, standard deviance is the name of their stats house.
Yeah, I know. But did you? Maybe I saw something on Twitter wrong. I thought we were gonna get into. Anyway, gonna be some math involved.
Standard deviation is a stats term.
I know it's a. Wow. See, this is the way he rages, in a condescending fashion.
Yeah.
Everybody's a dick sometimes.
All right. Do we have anything else we need to plug? I think that's probably it.
Thank you for listening to .P Therapy, and we'll catch you next time.
.therapy.
See you guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you, sir, for using all your stunts.